So this is my 17th Easter preaching on the gospel on Easter Sunday, or the Easter Vigil, plus during seminary, and it's my 15th time here. And what I've learned over the years is that I cannot improve at all on the gospel story. So over the past several years, as some of you know, I've went to that good old thing called Google and have scoured the internet to try to find a short story that can relate to us and relate to the gospel in a different way. And after looking through dozens over the past couple months, I found a story that I would like to read you this afternoon. It's called The Rich Family in Our Church, and it's by Eddie Ogden, O-G-A-N. I'll never forget Easter 1946. I was 14, my little sister Osi, 12, and my older sister Darlene, 16. We lived at home with our mother, and the four of us knew what it was to do without many things. You see, our dad had died 5 years before, leaving mom with 7 school kids to raise and no money. By 1946, my older sisters were married and my brothers had left home. Now, a month before Easter, the pastor of our church announced that a special Easter offering would be taken to help a poor family. He asked everyone in the congregation to save and to give sacrificially. When we got home, we talked about what we could do. We decided to buy 50 pounds of potatoes, and we would live on them for a month. This would allow us to save $20 of our grocery money for the offering. Then we thought that if we kept our electric lights turned out as much as possible, and if we didn't listen to the radio, we'd save money on the month's electric bill. Darlene got many house and yard cleaning jobs as possible, and both of us babysat for everyone we could. And for 15 cents, we could buy enough cotton loops to make 3 pot holders to sell for $1. We made $20 on those pot holders. That month was one of the best of our lives. Every day we got home and we counted the money to see how much we had saved. At night, we'd sit in dark and talk about how the poor family was going to enjoy having the money the church would give them. We had about 80 people in church, so we figured that whatever amount of money we had to give, the offering would surely be 20 times that amount. After all, every Sunday, the pastor had reminded everyone to save for the sacrificial offering. The day before Easter, Osi and I walked to the grocery store and got the manager to give us 3 crisp $20 bills and 1 $10 bill for all of the change we had. We ran all the way home to show Mom and Darlene we had never seen so much money before. That night, we were so excited we could hardly sleep. We didn't care that we wouldn't have new clothes for Easter. We had $70 for the sacrificial offering. We could hardly wait to get to church. On Easter morning, rain was pouring. We didn't own an umbrella, and the church was over a mile away from our home. But it didn't matter how wet we got. Darlene had cardboard in her shoes to fill the holes on the bottom, but the cardboard came apart and her feet got wet. But we all sat in church proudly. I heard some teenagers talking about us, the Smith girls, having on their old dresses. I looked at them in their new clothes, and I felt so rich. When the sacrificial offering was taken, we were sitting on the second row from the front. Mom put a $10 bill in, and each of us girls put in $20. As we walked home from church, we sang all the way. At lunch, Mom had a big surprise for us. She had brought a dozen eggs, and we boiled Easter eggs and had it with our fried potatoes. Late that afternoon, the minister drove up in the car. Mom went to the door, talked with him for a moment, and then came back with an envelope in her hand. We asked what it was, but she didn't say a word. She opened the envelope, and out fell a bunch of money. There were 3 crisp $20 bills, 1 $10 bill, and 17 $1 bills. Mom put the money back in the envelope. We didn't talk. We just sat and we stared at the floor. We had gone from feeling like millionaires to feeling like poor white trash. We kids had such a happy life that we felt sorry for anyone who didn't have our mom and dad for parents and a house full of brothers and sisters and other kids visiting constantly. We thought it was fun to share silverware and see whether we got the fork or the spoon that night. And we only had 2 knives, which we passed around to whomever needed it. I knew we didn't have a lot of things that other people had, but I never thought we were poor. That Easter day, I found out we were. The minister had brought us the money for the poor family. So we must be poor. I didn't like being poor. I looked at my dress and my worn-out shoes, and I felt so ashamed that I didn't want to go back to church. Everyone there probably already knew that we were poor, and I thought about school. I was in the 9th grade, and I was at the top of my class of over 100 students. I wondered if the kids at school knew we were poor. I decided I could quit school since I had finished the 8th grade. That was all that the law required at the time. We sat in silence for a long time. Then it got dark, and we went to bed. All that week, we girls went to school and came home, and no one talked much. Finally, on Saturday, Mom asked us what we wanted to do with the money. What did poor people do with the money? We didn't know. We never knew we were poor. We didn't want to go to church on Sunday, but Mom said we had to. Although it was a sunny day, we did not talk on the way. Mom started to sing, but no one joined in. She only sang one verse. At church, we met a missionary speaker. He talked about how churches in Africa made buildings out of sun-dried bricks, but they needed money to buy roofs. He said $100 would put a roof on a church. The minister said, "Can't we all sacrifice to help these poor people?" We looked at each other and we smiled for the first time in a week. Mom reached into her purse and pulled out the envelope. She passed it to Darlene. Darlene gave it to me, and I handed it to Osi. Osi put it in the offering. And when the offering was collected, the minister announced that it was a little over $100. The missionary was so excited. He hadn't expected such a large offering from our small church. He said, "You must have some really rich people in this church." Suddenly, it struck us. We had given $87 of that little over $100. We were the rich family in the church. Hadn't the missionary said so? And from that day on, I've never been poor again. I've always remembered how rich I am because I have Jesus. My siblings in Christ, we are all rich, no matter how much money we have, because we have Jesus in our lives, who gave himself for us, that we no longer have to worry, but can live abundantly in the treasures of heaven.